think the world isn't quite what you thought that it was. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto type idea. And I'm just wondering where we are in terms of freedom of speech. I do believe that we have to have certain laws. We have to be able to protect those who may be vulnerable otherwise. That is absolutely the case. But I wonder about an overreach, a government overreach in terms of what we can say and what we can't. I waking up this morning, and I knew this last night as well, and I was working till after midnight, so I think I've caught up with most of the news, to find that we have a situation, and I'm going to allude to this rather than say anything directly because of the very nature of what I'm talking about. But we have someone who, in the heat of the moment, now we understand with a backstory, which, in my opinion, explains exactly, implicitly, why this individual would react the way they reacted. They write something online, they regret it, they have a conscience, they get rid of that thing, they delete that thing that they wrote. And when you've got an individual who seems to be being punished way more than they should be, in my opinion, and yet other people in this country seem to be able to will not be bothered, wander around unfettered by any restriction or consequences because of their behaviours. And then you have someone who, and again I'm going to be ultra careful here, who does seem to be an issue for certain people in the country. And of course, I don't know all of the background, and I don't know all of the backstory, and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And so maybe there are good reasons for what's happening. But when you have someone, an individual who seems to be being targeted, like at first glance, maliciously, then that's going to make you wonder and worry. The best cure to this, of course, is, as usual, transparency, honesty, sunlight. And I don't think we're getting it. And so, again, I'm not going to make this long because I want to know what your opinion is. I'm really interested in this. Do you think that free speech has been eroded? Is being eroded, or is it absolutely fine? And by the way, up front, we need delineations out there in terms of what we can say. Absolutely, for sure. But maybe we've gone too far. And what I would add to that is that if you take a left-wing, a left-leaning ideology, a lot of which I would agree with, by the way, and you take it too far, just as if you go too far right, then you can get into authoritarianism. And when you go too far left, then you can end up with this idea that everyone's got to be equal, so it's not quite the meritocracy that it should be, in my opinion. And also you can end up with the state pulling more and more resource up towards itself and more control. And one of the things that when you get extremely left that can happen is that left-wing authoritarianism creeps in. And there's one thing, and you may have seen this in life, and you've certainly seen examples in different areas around the world and in history, when things go too far left. You know the old adage of that thing about the joke about HR turn up and they say, we're here to help, and everybody heads for the hills because they're worried that there's going to be redundancies. Same kind of thing, in the sense that it's to keep you safe. We will look after you. To look after you and to keep you safe, we need total control. And we need control of what you do, when you do it, how you do it. More and more things need to be regulated by the state because only we know best. And that includes what you can say, because we have our ideology and it is so entrenched, it is so deeply rooted that anybody who steps out of line, and you can look at the literature in terms of left-wing authoritarianism on this, they will use coercion, they will use force to get their way. And we've seen this through history. And when you go too far left and too far right, it's almost impossible to tell the difference. And so I wonder, I'm not saying that is what's happening, because I do not have knowledge and information and insight to everything that is going on behind the scenes in this country. Of course I don't, and you don't either. But I just wonder what your opinion is, because opinions matter, and also intuition and instinct matters. And there is a chilling feeling for me in the air this morning. There is something that feels to be off kilter, that isn't quite right, and that is extremely worrying. That some people, some actions, some groups seem to be targeted more heavily than others. And it's not that there shouldn't be a reprimand. I'm not saying that. But some people seem to be getting reprimanded more than others. And that's a big worry. Anyway, let me know what you think. For the moment, from me,